it's Elena, and I am here with Andi. Hi, Andi.
Hey.
So, Andi has written a book, and it's called Her Healing, and it's about finding happiness and healing through pregnancy loss.
Yeah, it's actually a workbook for grieving
Oh,
moms. Mm-hmm.
that's amazing. Tell me a little bit about your story.
It was 11 years ago now that we were pregnant with our first, and found out towards the end of the pregnancy that she had trisomy 18, and that she it's a condition that's not compatible with life, at least not long term. And so we got to prepare for what that meant. And before that point in my life, it hadn't even occurred to me that stuff like that could happen to me. I mean, it was like, that was the sad stuff that happened to other people. But in that moment, I became the other people, right? And it was definitely a process. Like at the beginning, I felt like I was obsessed with getting pregnant again, but we decided that we were going to wait a certain amount of time because I'd experienced a full pregnancy, right?
Yeah,
And
needed your body to heal. Yeah,
felt like that was important. And so then some natural healing had to occur, not just with my body, but with my emotions and with my spirit. And so that was an experience in and of itself. And we did end up then having twins, and then we had another little girl. And after our little girl, I had another miscarriage. Went in for my 16-week appointment, and there was no heartbeat. And so that at that point was not something that just happened to other people, right? And I remember having this knowing that if I could get through it before, I could do it again. That it wasn't what I'd hoped for, it wasn't what I'd wanted or planned for, but I knew that complete healing was on the other side of this. And as I started to talk to more friends, I just started to realize that that was not necessarily the perception of a lot of people. And I had one experience in particular where I read a post from someone on social media, and they had experienced a miscarriage around the same time that I had with this second baby. And we were both about a year out from it, and they carried so much pain in connection. I could just tell that they just were still in so much pain around this. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, we've been on this really similar journey, but I can't imagine still carrying that level of burden in connection with my loss. And so I just kind of at that point felt a little bit of a responsibility that I want to help moms. I want to help moms who have lost babies, because it's hard. It hurts.
It's not something people talk about either. I know I had a miscarriage between, no, I mean, really. And I had a miscarriage between my two daughters. And for me, it was interesting because the people that I was close to wanted to help me, but those weren't the people that I found could help me. You know, it was just so painful to talk about at that time. And it wasn't even, for me, it was a loss of my hopes and my dreams, and my kids were going to be this far apart, and this is what life was going to look like, and this was the plan. And I found it, I remember very, very clearly being in the grocery store and running into an acquaintance, just somebody that, not a friend, not anything like that. And it was somebody who was like, oh, so, you know, how far along are you now? And I just burst into tears in the middle of the grocery store. But I found, you know, it was so much easier for me to share with people that weren't part of my story at that time. And so I think that like some people need that close support. We don't discuss it very much. You start talking and all of a sudden you hear so many women saying, oh, I had one too. I had a miscarriage too. I had this too. And so, I mean, what a blessing that you've been able to do this workbook that people can really work through their journey.
Well, and I think that opening up a discussion like can be so healing.
Mm-hmm.
I write about my sister in the book that she had a miscarriage and actually didn't tell anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that she would go to work and have to excuse herself to the bathroom because she was just like so like distraught and just would cry. And that there wasn't even like this social acknowledgement of what she'd been through because she hadn't told anyone yet, right? And it's kind of an interesting thing that we don't tend to talk about. I think we're getting more open. But like even just questioning, like I remember I was told like, yeah, you wait until you're 12 weeks along to tell people that you're pregnant just in case you have a
just
miscarriage.
in case, right?
Yeah. And like even that, just questioning that like thought and that reasoning of like, why? Like, why would you wait until you were safe? I mean, because like both of my experiences were after that 12-week mark anyways, right? But like it just became more apparent for me of like that like together grieving is actually very healing. And that, you know, maybe sharing in the joy at 5 weeks along and then sharing in that pain and sadness at 7, 8, 9, 10 or 16 weeks, like that maybe that's another way of doing it. Not that there's a right way or a wrong way, because
No.
even with our fourth, like we intentionally waited a long time to tell people because at that point, like the loss felt so real, but also I knew that the healing was real too. And that I didn't want to carry their burden as well as mine. Right. And so like that, I mean, that was just my perspective at the time, but that like, I felt better about kind of keeping it to myself for a while until I felt more comfortable. So I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong way to do it, but just to question, like, why do we do it this way?
Right. It you know, and like you said, there's not a right or a wrong way, but society has kind of put that into place as a way of, I don't know, reaffirming that we don't talk about it.
Well, and like, I think that maybe for some it is some level of protection. I personally,
but the pain's still going to be there.
I found a lot of comfort in sharing that pain. And I don't feel like I really had a choice. Like I was very pregnant with both of mine. So people just knew. But in talking with my sister, with our first loss, my boss bought a burial plot for her. Like, I mean, there was so much of an outpouring of love. And she just acknowledged, like, maybe that was why it took her so long to get to where she could even talk about it, was because there wasn't any kind of social acknowledgement. Like there couldn't be, no one knew about it. But it just caused me to like step back and question.
You know, it's interesting because before the podcast, when you and I were chatting, you said something to me. I had asked you if there was anything that you wanted to keep private. And you said, no, I'm an open book. And I said, I'm the same way. And I honestly think that could be one aspect of our healing and wanting to help other people is I've had bad things happen. You know, I've had hard times, but I'm not hiding under them. They don't define today. You know, my joy and my outreach and my helping other people define me today. But I think that a lot of times, I think that you're right, that that's something that it's harder to heal. It's a lot harder to heal when
Well,
you're.
I actually resisted writing this book or like choosing grieving moms as the people that I really wanted to help, because I don't define myself by my loss.
Yeah.
And then in a discussion with a friend, just came to realize that that's actually why. That's why I get to have this as part of my journey of helping moms who are grieving, because it's not something that defines me. It's not something that has to define us, but
Yeah.
it is a part of us, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, we were discussing earlier too that the bad things happen. The bad things happen, and the healthy way through them is dealing with them, working through them, and then finding where we can help other people.
Well, my dad, he gave me some of the best advice. It was right after we had lost Addie. That was our stillborn baby, and he'd come to see us. We lived about three hours away from where most of our family lived, and he said it's okay to be really, really, really sad. And then when you're good and ready, it's okay to be really, really happy again too.
Wow, that's powerful.
And it was such an important part of my journey to not just like pick myself up and pretend like something didn't happen, because it did, and it was real and it was painful. But like fully experiencing the pain was, I feel like, what allowed me to then fully experience the joy. And I write about that in my book.
Wow. So tell me where we can find the book.
So right now, the Kindle version is on Amazon. It will be available in print soon. Just working through the loopholes.
It's called Her Journey.
It's called Her Healing. And then the subtitle is A Workbook for Grieving Moms.
Okay.
It comes up best in searches when you put in my name, Andi Thompson, Andi Thompson. And I also have a website, which is
yes, please.
heysweetmama.com.
Okay, H-E-Y. Hey, Sweet Mama. Okay. Well, wonderful.
That's where they can check me out.
Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank
you for all your work.
Oh, thank you for what you bring to the world. It's a beautiful mission that you're on.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.